Hello, everyone, and welcome to A New Direction. My name is Jay Izzo, and oh man, another great show, great author, great book. The author, Stephanie O'Day, the book, Slow Living, Cultivating a Life of Purpose in a Hustle-Driven World. Do not be fooled by this title. I am begging you not to be fooled by this title, because here's the thing. She has a little equation that I want you, which, because you hear slow living, and I know that there's some of you out there that you're like me. We got to go, right? And I'm competitive. I get it. I'm a competitor. I played college football and a little beyond. I got this thing in me that wants to just compete. Okay, but I also know that I'm a farm kid. Okay, I'm a farm kid. I loved being outside, and we worked hard. That was just part of what we did. Here's the equation that she has for slow living. All right. It is mindset plus action plus consistency equals success. I want you to just think about those three elements. First of all, you all know me, right? I coach mindset. You're right. I work with 19U, 16U, and 14U AAA hockey girls, right? In mindset. That's all we do for a season is we work on mindset work, right? So I'm a big fan of mindset. Okay, so we have mindset plus action. Okay, well, that doesn't sound real slow living to me, but there's a caveat to it. You'll get it. She's going to explain it to you. And then consistency. That's our problem. That's one of our big problems, isn't it? Consistency. Come on, let's be honest, folks. I mean, if you looked at your life, how consistent are you? You might be consistently bad. See, this is the thing that might be a problem for you. You may be consistently bad. That's not working for you because that's not getting you to the success part, okay? So we're going to talk with Stephanie here about slow living. And I have to tell you, she's awesome. Let me introduce her to you. Her name is Stephanie O'Day. She is a New York Times bestselling author, host of the Slow Living podcast, mom of 3. They're in college. Is that right, Stephanie, right now?
One is still in high school, but yes.
Okay. She writes, she coaches, she teaches, and speaks about all things slow living. You can find her online at stephanieoday.com and a year of slowcooking.com, because you might have seen her on Rachel Ray, with the book. Okay, you can okay, in 2008, she made her New Year's resolution to use her crock pot slow cooker every day for a year and write about it online. Well, that resulted in 10 books, a spot in New York Times bestseller list, and a job that she loves. So she often is in her pajamas. That's what she says. She's appeared on Good Morning America, Rachel Ray, Real Simple Magazine, Women's World, Oprah.com. She's a contributing editor, Simply Gluten Free Magazine, My Wife Loves You, as featured in the infomercial for the Ninja Cooking System. For more comprehensive plus, just go to her website. You can learn so much more. It is stephanieoday.com, and that O'Day is ODEA. So please do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome to the show, and welcome to the first time, and I don't think of the last time, Stephanie O'Day. Stephanie, welcome to A New Direction.
Thank you for having me, Jay. Thank you so much.
Let's dig in. There's no reason why we shouldn't. You talk about in starting this book with the preface, and I know that nobody ever reads the preface, but I read the preface. Okay. You say that you strongly believe that we do not live in a one-size-fits-all world. And we're always looking for these formulas. Help us get out of that thought process that we have of, I'm looking for the silver bullet. I'm looking for something that fits with everybody else. Help us move outside of that.
Yeah. So first off, it's not our fault because we all went through the school system where we were taught, well, what's going to be on the test? Just tell me the answers and I'm going to learn that and that only. And then as we grow, we're thinking someone outside of us has all the answers and will tell us what's on the test. And so marketers and hustle culture sort of play into that and thinking, oh, well, you just have to do these 10 sit-ups every day and eat this protein shake, and all of a sudden you're going to have six-pack abs, and that's all you have to do. So cognitively, we know, okay, that doesn't actually work. You have to legit do the work and have a certain amount of body fat and blah, blah, blah. But when we're feeling down and a little vulnerable and kind of a little fearful, it's so quick to fall for that marketing hype. Marketers love you in a depressed state because then you will give them all the money to make you feel better. And slow living is about taking a deep breath and deciding that right here and right now is the only thing you can control.
Mm.
And the acronym that I like to use for slow is to simply look only within. Yes, it's exciting, especially when you're doom scrolling to come across an ad promising you all of the answers in Pandora's box. But really, if you unplug for a bit and look within, chances are the answers are already within inside of you. And so the idea that you talked about earlier of the mindset plus action plus consistency comes together with slow living, because if you ask yourself, what's the next best step for me to take? And then just go quiet. The answers will bubble up depending on your belief system. That's God, that's the universe, it's your subconscious, it's your inner voice, whatever suits you the best, use that one. That's your action step.
Mm.
You already know. Maybe the action step is, hey, gee, Steph, you probably should stop doom scrolling. Maybe you should put down the bottle of wine. Maybe you should go for a walk right now. That's the answer you're searching for. It's not found in your phone, and it's certainly not found on TikTok.
And it's not found in AI either.
No, no. Although Chat GPT is sometimes very nice to me. I'll ask Chat GPT, hey, so I'm having a really hard day today. Can you make me feel better? And like, Steph, you are rocking it. You're really so that is helpful. Then I tell my husband, I'm like, if you don't know what to write me in a card, please just ask Chat GPT.
that's that's awesome. I I love this idea of slow. I have my clients, and I do this every year, is come up with my word of the year, some word that I'm going to focus on for this year. My word this year was stillness.
Mm,
And because I feel like I don't sit still enough and am patient to really listening to me and what's really going on. And I have found it a challenging word for me because um, I, I'm always thinking. I'm always thinking the next thing and always going to the next thing. And this idea of simply looking only within, slow, is a challenge for all of us, I think, because our world is moving so quickly that, and we're not very comfortable looking within. I mean, right? I mean, we're
well,
really
yes, right.
we're not comfortable there.
Yeah, so like the examples that I led, like sometimes your inner voice is like, put down the bottle of wine or
Mhm,
something like that. That's uncomfortable.
mhm,
And when you're uncomfortable, it's the easiest way to be less uncomfortable is to dismiss it or stop thinking that way, or stop kind of exploring it. But when you are able to sit with uncomfortable emotion and uncomfortable thoughts, that's when the magic comes, because
mhm.
then you know, okay, I felt this feeling before. This is anxiety. This is fear. This is worry. This is dread. Okay, I'm here actually, and I'm safe in my suburban neighborhood with a roof over my head.
Mm.
This is just a feeling. This is just a thought. Let's move through it. That's when you, I mean, and you coach this way as well. When you're comfortable being uncomfortable, it's when the magic happens.
Yeah, you have to practice a certain level of
You do.
deliberate discomfort.
I like that. Deliberate discomfort. Yeah. Bring it
Mm.
on.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, because if you don't practice deliberate discomfort, then you stay comfortable. So you have to purposely practice it, which is not easy to do because for most of us, it's like drilling our own teeth. It's it's painful, to do that. You describe soul living as being consciously aware of what you're doing, what your surroundings are, and where you're headed in life. And you go on to say this means that you're actively living the life that you have consciously and purposely decided on. Um, a lot of people, when they are thinking about this life of living purposely and consciously, I feel like oftentimes we just don't do that. Help us understand why we don't do that. And I know we're starting to move into, some of the issues of that we're about to, I mean, not issues, but some of your 5-step process here, but Help us walk through this, living consciously aware of what we're doing, their surroundings, where we're headed, living consciously and purposefully.
Yeah. So I think to answer your question directly, the reason we don't is it's easier not to.
Hmm.
Um, it's easier to think someone else has all of the answers, instead of knowing that you are the grown up in the room, and you can solve your own problems. Um, when it comes to being here and being present and now and taking the next best step, when you set yourself up for success, which means that you wake up in a way that you're not already feeling behind, you're not already feeling rushed, and you're going through your day as thoughtful, um, as you can. Lots of times I ask people to serve their needs first, especially if they're raising other humans or if there's other variables in the house that they can't control. Do what you can to set yourself up first for success. Sure, bloody noses happen, overflowed toilets, all of that kind of thing are variables you can't control. But on a day-to-day basis, you should be able to control when you get up, what you consume in the morning, and that is food, drink, and also media. If you're immediately grabbing your phone or turning on the computer first thing or clicking on the television to watch the news, you're no longer serving your needs first. Your agenda isn't being met. You're now reacting to other people's agendas. Anyone who's doing anything online or on any form of broadcast, they are manipulating now your thoughts and your actions based upon them. You could wake up and instead take your tea outside and look at the sunrise and listen for birds in the distance, look for worms in the garden. That kind of stuff will always set you up in a nicer way. And that is a meditative process. So I think people think that meditation has to look a certain way. You can walk your dog and be in a meditative state. You can take a really nice shower and be in a meditative state.
Okay, I gotta be honest with you. I have not looked for worms since I was a kid, but I will add that to my agenda. That worm looking will be the next thing I do with my cup of decaf coffee. Is worm.
I so one thing that's what happens is when you start to notice the worms, if you're anything like me, I can't step over them on the sidewalk. I have to save them. So my dog walks end up being really long because I'm constantly trying to save the worms who are. And I get it. They don't want to drown and that kind of stuff. But my brain is they're committing wormicide, so I have to like save. No, 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 no. You're gonna get stepped on.
Wormicide is beautiful. I love that. I'm going to use that from now on. Wormicide. They're trying to commit wormicide. I love that. You divide this book into four parts, and they happen to be the four parts of your equation: mindset, action, consistency equals success. And the first part is called mindset. It's you're going to attempt to answer the why, and you do, I think, very well here. And in chapter one, you say the first step to dreaming big, harmonizing mind, body, and spirit. And I love that you did this. I just talked about this with my team. You talk about Dr. Daniel Amen, who coined the term ANT, A-N-T, which is uh, automatic negative thoughts. And you talk about squashing our ants because it's so funny. When I was doing the research for my team, we have 65,000 thoughts a day, and we have 3-to-1 negative thoughts to positive thoughts in that process. And I was like going, and it's just automatic. We just automatically go negative. So talk to us about squashing our ants, for crying out loud. We need them. We need them gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So if anyone who has ever paid attention to a house that has ants, uh, usually one or two kind of scouter ants go and test out the room first. And so if you can find them and you can squash them, and I get it, we should love nature and we shouldn't kill bugs. So I apologize for that in advance if this offends you. But the idea is if they're coming in and you squash them right away, then they can't go back to the entire colony and tell them, "Hey, there's a spilled blah 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 here in this house, and bring in the rest of the ant army. And so that's the visual, is the first time you're feeling a little anxious, you're feeling a nervous. And again, it's usually because of a variable you can't control, and the thought comes in. Depending on who you are and how you brought up, um, prevailing thoughts that come up a lot with my coaching clients are, it doesn't matter what I do, it's not going to be good enough. Or uh, I work so hard and I'm not rewarded. Or this house stinks. My husband hates me. The kids are disrespectful. All of these things, which you could then begin to collect evidence to prove those thoughts correctly. I don't want you to do that. I want you to instead to squash that kind of negative thought, and then start to collect evidence to the contrary. That actually, this house doesn't stink. Could it be better? Probably. Am I going to put in the work to do it? Probably not. Is it okay? Is it safe? Is it warm? Is it dry? Is it ant free? Then yes, you're probably fine.
I want to tell you something I found so remarkably interesting about something that you found, and it was that UC Berkeley researchers identified 27 distinct categories of emotion, and this was in the National Academy of Science Journal in 2017, and they ranked those emotions from the most positive to the lowest. Here's what I found interesting: the first 7 are positive, and then it goes to neutral, and then the last 19 are all negative. And what I found interesting is it fits exactly what the research says, is that we have almost three times as many negative thoughts as positive ones. And so we have, what they found is that we almost have 3 times as many negative emotions, because number 8 is neutral. So it's
I would
bliss.
love it if we all just walked around neutral all the time. The world would be in a much happier place.
Right. But I mean, it's like, number 1 is bliss and peace and knowledge and satisfaction, passion, enthusiasm, eagerness, optimism, hopefulness, right? And then neutral, and then we go boredom after neutral. They rank these, and I was like going, holy cow. No wonder we're messed up. We all go down. I mean, I don't know a whole lot of people. I mean, I have a few friends who are in the top 7, but boy, I know a whole lot more people who are in the bottom 19. That's a struggle for us. If we're trying to, live this life, the slow living life, man, we got to get out of our own head.
Out of our own head, and then paying attention to who we interact with on as much as possible. So I'm lucky in that I get to talk to people like you, and I get to talk to other like-minded people who are already aware of the thoughts. And so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, what's the first step? Awareness is honestly the first step, and just paying attention to the different words that are floating through your head, and starting to identify, um okay, is this thought helping me or serving me? And then beginning to shift just slightly. Affirmations don't work if you're going to argue with yourself in your brain. So if you're in a really upset mood and you're like, I am peaceful, I am calm, no, that doesn't work, and you're going to argue with yourself. But if you could do kind of like a bridge affirmation of,
Right.
I don't know how, I don't know the details, but it will be okay. It
Yeah.
will be okay. It will be okay. And
Yeah.
and something like that. I'm not interested in that kind of toxic positivity, or gaslighting yourself into pretending. I know I talked about it in the book. Faking it till you make it doesn't actually work, because you start arguing with yourself, and you're like, well, this is fake and phony, and so your identity and your actions aren't matched up in that way. But you could reach for a little bit of hope and a little bit of optimism. Sometimes we don't know how things will get better, but we can imagine that it could, or that it's a possibility for things to get better, when we're in a funk.
My little technique that I use, and this just happened to me last week, where something bad happened. And it was pretty rough emotionally. And I got aware of the thought process, and I went immediately to look at what you have to be grateful for. And that really, really did something for me, whereas I just went, you know what, you got 4 great friends who love you and support you. You got a great wife who loves you and supports you. You have, I started looking at all the things that I actually had instead of looking at things that I lost. And I found that exercise, while it didn't get rid of the fact that this was a hard thing, right? It didn't get rid of it. But what it did was it reminded me, you're not in this hole by yourself. You have a lot more. And because I don't want to fake it till I make it in this sense either, right? Because one of my core values is authenticity. So I don't want to be inauthentic. And I know I got to, what you say, I love how you say, you got to feel the feels, and we do, you got to feel them because you got to feel the pain. But I also found that focusing on the gratitude made a difference for me too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sorry that you had that
Yeah. Well,
occurrence. That's not
yeah,
fun.
it wasn't
And
fun.
no, it's not fun. And it's tricky because it's unfortunately part of the human experience
Yeah.
to have this stuff. And it's not fun. And if you're a little kid, you want to use the word it's not fair. And sometimes even as a grown up, it's nice to say that out loud. This is not fair. Like come
Yeah.
on. Like I've had way too much happening right now, and it is not fun, and it is not fair. And so feel and acknowledge those feelings.
Yeah.
But then what you did was you figured out the facts. So you acted on the facts. The fact is you've got a great wife.
Yeah.
You've got 4 friends. You've got
Yeah.
you've got this great house and all of these amazing books behind you, by the way.
Yeah, which I think I've read almost all of them. So I think it's too. Her name is Stephanie O'Day. The book is called Slow Living, Cultivating a Life of Purpose in a Hustle-Driven World. She is outstanding. We just did one segment, 2 to go. You're going to love her if you haven't already. Stay with us. You're listening to her here on A New Direction. Hey, folks, Zoundy is the ultimate game changer for authors and publishers and professionals in the audiobook space. Listen, I use it. I'm just telling you how fantastic it is. I'm going to give you an example of what Zoundy does. If I want to go speak at a conference, let's say there's 500 people there, I can give everybody with a simple code a audio copy of my book. Okay. And here's the best part. I get their email addresses back so I can start interacting with the reader. How cool is that? So it allows me to to interact and have exchanges, learn what they're about, help me write my next book. Listen, it's very simple. Just go to Zoundy.com. Zoundy, Zoundy.com. Now, don't just do that. Just go Zoundy.com/J, J-A-Y. That's me. And use my special code JAY25. That's JAY25. And you'll get special savings. I'm telling you, it's awesome. I love it. I love the fact that I've got a link that I can give my audiobook away for free on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I have separate links so I know where they're coming from. I know how to interact with them. It's very cool. Check them out. Zoundy.com/J. And Linda Craft Team Realtors, you know what? For this is their 40th year in business. 40 years. Oh my gosh. And I'm just telling you, she has created something that has been success for 40 years. And, let's be honest, when it comes to real estate, she knows how to help people transition in life. And you go, wait, what do you mean? Transition? Well, think about it. Every place you've ever lived has been a life transition. They know how to take the stress out of that part of the transition of life. So listen, check them out. I really suggest that you do. Regardless of where you live, just go to lindacraft.com. It's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with Stephanie O'Day and Slow Living. See what I did there? Cultivating a Life of Purpose in a Hustle-Driven World. Outstanding book. I got so many notes here. We're never going to get through them, but that's okay. Maybe we'll bring her back and we'll do some more of this because it's really a great book. I want to jump to chapter 3 here, Stephanie, which is entitled The Real FOMO. Why meeting all your goals won't give you purpose. God, I'm so glad you said this. I have been waiting for somebody to finally say that goal setting, and I can't wait because we're going to include here, by the way, smart goals are stupid. Okay, we're gonna include this in this section. Okay, can we do that? Are you okay with that?
That sounds good. Most people get mad at me, so I appreciate
No.
you.
Oh no, no, no. I am I'm applauding here. Are you kidding me? As soon as I read, I jumped out of my seat and I went, yes. I was so excited. Finally, somebody has said it. I've been saying it, and people have told me I've been out of my mind. But now that you've said it, I feel like either we're out of our mind together or we're absolutely correct on this one. Um,
I'm
so
happy to be in your company.
thank you. Thank you. So tell us about what the real FOMO is.
Yeah. So FOMO is fear of missing out,
Right.
if you have not heard that. And the issue with FOMO is it makes people feel like other people again have figured it all out. And so I've sort of flipped the acronym, and it started that I flipped it with my own children, and it's figure only myself out.
Mm,
So if you're scrolling and you're seeing that maybe there was a party or something that you could have gone to or you weren't invited to, and so you're feeling left out, that fear of missing out. If you flip it to figure only myself out and ask, one, did I really want to go out at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night? Do I really even like these people? Is the reason they didn't invite me because actually we have nothing in common anymore? And so when you're focused only on yourself, figuring only yourself out, there's so much peace that comes with it, because then it's you back being in control of what the next best step for you is. And that feeling of remorse, of neglect, again, just a feeling. And
mm.
so the figure only myself out goes back to what we said in the last segment of deciding on purpose what your only next best step is, and then acting on it consistently.
I know that's not part of this chapter, but it's right here, part of the
Yeah.
goal thing. So I got to jump to it. So let's jump to smart goals are
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
Are
So
you okay with that?
in the corporate world, and they teach it in school, they teach it in college. SMART goals are smart. Oh gosh, wait, you might have to help me. So it's 'cause I don't even remember anymore. So it's specific,
Measurable,
measured, accountable, relevant, and timeline, or
time,
realistic
timely,
and time bound.
realistic, and time bound.
Yeah, realistic and time bound. Okay, so not even a very catchy acronym as far as I'm concerned. So
No, no,
yeah,
no.
and then the stupid one popped in my brain at about 3 in the morning in the bout of insomnia while I was writing, and that's stop trusting unqualified people in your decision making. And the problem with SMART goals, especially when you're looking at a huge, like, global life goal, is they can't be time bound. If you have like a huge juicy goal such as I'm going to retire at 50 with $5 million in the bank, and I'm just making up things right now, and you hit that goal at 53
Mm,
instead of 50, have you failed? No.
right,
No,
right,
no, it
right,
just is what it is. It took as long as it took. But what happens? What would have happened if at 49 and a half you realized, oh, I'm not going to make this time bound goal,
right.
this very specific time bound goal, and you decided to just take your foot off the gas and let it go, and like, well, I'm not going to meet that goal, and give up. And that's the problem to me with SMART goals. It makes sense if you're on a specific deadline for work and you have a project due. Okay, great. Do the thing you need to do. If you need to make your PowerPoint slides and all that kind of stuff in a time frame, okay. But for great big juicy goals, it doesn't work. And I think we've all seen Hallmark movies where someone is 31 and feels like they're failing because they're not married and don't have a career and don't have kids.
Right.
No, everyone is playing their own game of life, and there's lots of variables that you can't control. And I'd rather people not continue to beat themselves up in their brains for quote unquote failing and using that as evidence that they can't commit to their goals. Again, so the three-part success formula is mindset plus action plus consistency. When you're in a good mood, decide what your action steps are going to be, and then do the thing over and over and over again. If it takes you 6 months instead of 4 months to meet your skinny jean goal, it does not mean you failed.
Okay. Okay, I didn't know you were going to go there, but okay, good.
Yeah.
Skinny jeans, let's go with that. Not a good look for me. Brothers, maybe so. The thing that caught me about when you said SMART goals, there was a couple things that you said. One was oftentimes when we're told to do SMART goals, somebody is actually determining the goals for us. And this is so true in the corporate world. And I mean, I work with corporate executives and all the time. And they have they measure everything by an outcome, right? Not the process. They measure everything by an outcome. And my problem with the SMART goals thing, which is why I love your stupid better, is the reason why there's a problem is because ultimately what we do, even in the business world, is we're trying to manipulate people into getting them to do what we want to do. So we came up with this clever acronym, SMART goals, because then we can manipulate them into getting them to do what we want them to do so that we can meet the deadlines that are arbitrary, so that we can get what we want, or we got to please somebody else. So we need our salespeople to meet these arbitrary goals so that we can please somebody else. So we got to manipulate you to do that. Right?
Yeah.
And it's not authentic to them. And your whole book is about being authentic to yourself.
Yeah. And people are not spreadsheets, and people aren't data points that you can consistently track and manipulate. And back to your AI point earlier, this is why they want humans replaced by robots, because the global they in quotes can perform no matter what on what they think is a very linear timeline. People have ups and downs and all arounds, and cannot consistently improve by 1% in each quadrant every day, no matter what. I'm sure you've come across lots of self-help and personal development authors who say no matter what, you'll improve 1% in each area of your life. No. What about natural disasters? What about deaths in the families? What about a sick child?
Right.
No. Humans are messy, and embrace the messiness, and do not think that you're doing anything wrong for being human.
Right. Well, that's the problem, is that we're treating humans oftentimes, and it's saying everybody's, please don't write into me and tell me you just told us this, that not everybody, but oftentimes we treat humans as if they're not human.
Yeah.
And that's problematic. I don't care if it's business or in life. But it would be an awful lonely world if your only communication device was AI.
Yeah. It would. It absolutely would. And what's interesting is acknowledging that we're all different
Right.
is tricky. So before we hit record, Jay and I were talking about how I'm not the best marketer in the world, because I do talk about how we're not in a cookie cutter world, and I don't necessarily have the secret sauce of success. Do these things every single day no matter what and
Right.
you'll succeed, because I am, again, acknowledging that humans are messy, and we're different, and depending on where you live and your upbringing and your socioeconomic status and all of these different factors play in part of the human experience, and ignoring that just so you can come up with a catchy marketing pitch or slogan, so then you can prove to your investors that, well, if they just did what I told them to do, it would work. It doesn't work. We still do have independent thought.
We do, and we need it.
Mhm.
We absolutely need that from each other. We need the independent thinking. We need we need our thinking is not going to improve because of AI. It's going to make us dumber. We need each other to improve who we are. We need to be challenged by another human being, not by a computer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I'm really glad you brought that up because lately on my coaching calls, and I'm sure this has come up on your calls also, there's a lot of strife in the world right now. There's a lot going on. And sometimes some people, their answer to that problem is to, well, cut them off. Stop talking to them. Get away from them. That doesn't work in real life, and it certainly doesn't work in families. If some person has a thought process that you don't agree with, the answer isn't to cut them off or to find a new family or dismiss them altogether. And that's what's fun for me about humans is finding the commonality and then finding a way to meet in the middle, which again you're not going to find with AI or robots.
No, we're not. Um, Part two. I love this, by the way. Gosh, I love this. What you did. The 5 steps to slow living. The how. Chapter 4. So good. So good. Step 1 of step 5. Folks, start taking notes. Not while you're driving. Please don't do it while you're driving, but take a note when you stop. Okay, on this. Step 1, chapter 4. Declutter with the prom method. Let's go to the prom. I love this. All right. You say the first step if you're ready to slow down is to live on purpose, is to declutter. Talk to us about prom and decluttering, because you say less is more.
Less is more, absolutely. So PROM is an acronym. The book is filled with acronyms. I'm kind of an acronym junkie. So this one is purge, remove, organize, maintain. And I can see Jay nodding. So I'm just going to tell you why I'm such an acronym junkie. In about second grade, my grandpa, who's former military, taught me that the acronym for snafu was situation, normal, all, and then effed up. But he said the bad word. And so to my 7-year-old brain, the idea that grown-ups were hiding bad words in other words just completely blew my brain. So since then, I just make up acronyms constantly, all the time. And I can't stop myself if I'm bored on an airplane flight, if I'm in a meeting somewhere, I'm just kind of making up acronyms. So I do have a glossary of acronyms in the book, but I like that Jay Jay also enjoys them. So PROM is just an acronym for decluttering, and it's purge, remove, organize, maintain. And these can be physical things in your house because it's actually really super therapeutic to open your kitchen drawer and start decluttering. Go to your bookcase, start decluttering. Clean out old games, CDs. If you still have CDs and you don't even use them, get rid of them. That kind of stuff. And again, it's because it's something you can control, and humans like to do things that they can control. So that's physical clutter. But mental clutter, calendar clutter, people clutter, things right now that aren't necessarily serving you, see what you can streamline and what you can kind of toss. Maybe not forever, but maybe for a little while, and just kind of put them on pause. And as we were talking before with people, if you're disagreeing with people right now, and you can't meet in the middle and you can't have a conversation that feels good, maybe just putting them on pause for a little while until you sort your stuff out might be helpful or useful. And then as far as what you're consuming, again, if it's raising your blood pressure and not making you feel good about yourself, declutter it for a while.
Yeah, I cannot emphasize this enough, that, you know, I'm not getting rid of my books, by the way. I'm sorry.
You don't have to.
Okay.
No. Also, it's a really good backdrop.
Thank you. Because I love my books. Although my wife would tell you I probably need to get rid of some of them. Anyway, but I do believe strongly in decluttering us mentally and emotionally, and even spiritually. That we get so much clutter from people that we really don't know that affect us emotionally. Why? Or we're holding on to things that we've held on for decades or years, that we've chosen to not forgive, and they become this clutter and of resentment, and anger and bitterness. It's not serving you anymore. It's garbage. You got to let it go. You got to declutter those things. And I know that it's not easy because no one wants to let go of things because, we all say to stuff that we throw out of our, garages or whatever, or attics, well, maybe one day I'll use this. No. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't care what it is. There are things that we're holding on to that are nothing more than clutter and that are keeping us from becoming who we could become. Right. And I think that's what you mean when you talk about, promming the other side parts of your life. What are you spending your money on? The relationships. I mean, I found it so awesome
Yeah. Well, thank you.
that you would, because we don't think of it that way. When we think of declutter, we go, oh, every spring we're going to do the thing, we're going to declutter, right? No, this should be an ongoing process in your life. What's cluttering up your mind?
Yeah.
What's taking over your heart, your soul, your spirit? Dump it. Sorry, you got to remove it. So good. Step 2. This one kind of got me off here a little bit. Program your GPS.
Yeah. What part? What do you mean by off?
Well, this kind of threw me off because I was trying to like put it together. Okay, programming my
Okay.
GPS. Like, all right, so I got it, but it was like, okay, set my destination and then plug in my GPS of how I'm going to get
Okay.
there.
Sure.
Right.
So I think the idea is it's trusting that you'll get there when you'll get there.
Mm,
So
mm,
if obstacles come up in the road or different things, just trust that the next best path will become
mm,
available to you, and just sort of trust. So it's the idea of being okay dreaming big, and I want you to have hopes and dreams and goals in all quadrants of your life. So I think a lot of times people, when they think of goal setting and achieving, they're paying attention mostly to finances and
mm,
perhaps career goals, but I want you to
mm,
also have relationship goals, goals for your own household organization, goals for your finances, and not necessarily work finances, but your own family and your own personal finances. There's again lots in the world that you can't control. You may have a dream that you are going to work your way up the corporate ladder, and in 5 years you're going to have this specific job, and then the company folds. You have no control over that. But what you can control in your personal finances is your spending and your saving,
mm.
and those type of things. And as far as relationship goals, if you're currently seeking, then it's coming to terms with, well, how often are you putting yourself out there? Where are you meeting new people? If you are coupled up, great. How often are you reconnecting with your spouse and your significant other, and paying attention to that, and keeping that relationship thriving, rather than just kind of taking advantage, or becoming complacent that this person will always be there.
Her name is Stephanie O'Day. The book is entitled, get it out, Slow Living, Cultivating a Life of Purpose in a Hustle-Driven World. So good. So good. You should get yourself a copy. Seriously. I got a better idea. Here's a better idea. Get yourself a copy, but then get a copy for your friend. And the two of you read it together and really dig into this, because this is life-changing work. I'm just telling you, it is. It's going to raise your self-awareness. It's going to change who you fundamentally are and how you fundamentally think. Get yourself a copy, get yourself one for your friend, dig into it together. I'm telling you, it's going to be worth it. You're listening to her here on A New Direction. Hey, folks, Zoundy. I love them. Love Zoundy. I really, really do. Great marketing tool for those of us who are authors, or you're a publisher, or you're some professional in the audio book space. Listen, here's what I love. I love the fact that I get to be in contact with everybody who's downloaded my book and is listening to it. And I get to ask them questions like, what'd you like about it? What would you like to have seen improved? What do you wish I would have talked about? How could I have made it better for you? Did you find some errors that maybe I didn't catch or the editor didn't catch? I mean, I can have all these different conversations, right? And it leads me to becoming not only better acquainted with my work, but really more acquainted with the reader. or the listener in this case. And that's really important because those are the people who are going to look at my next book. So whether you're launching your first book or you're scaling your catalog, whatever, check out zoundy.com/J. Zoundy.com, ZOUNDY.com/J, and then use my special savings, J25, JAY25, and you'll get the special savings. It's fantastic. You're going to love it, I promise. And Linda Craft Team Realtors, listen, I have to tell you, I'm a little biased here, and I fully admit it. But they have, I think, the most comprehensive real estate website I've ever seen. I'm just saying that because I've looked at a lot of real estate websites, and I have to be honest with you, this one's comprehensive. I mean, they even have articles written by a child psychologist, how to move with your child, or written by a veterinarian, how to move with a pet, right? They've got this blog, and they've got their podcast called Real Estate Right Now that they put out all sorts of information that's going on in the world right now today. Of course, yes, they have the listings and all the other things, but it's the other things that they have where it's a one-stop shop. It doesn't matter where you live. Check them out. LindaCraft.com. Great website. It's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with my friend. I can call her friend. I'm going to call her friend. My friend, Stephanie O'Day, Slow Living, cultivating a life of purpose in a hustle-driven world. Are you okay if I call you friend? Can I call you friend?
Yes.
Okay, good.
No, I'm so excited.
Step 3. Oh, one of my favorites. God, this is one of my favorites. Chapter 6, step 3. Stay present and positive. And I believe in it. It's one of my core values is positive attitude. It's a core value of mine. That I make a decision. It's part of my decision-making process of my 7 core values. And, can I maintain a positive attitude on this decision? Whatever decision it is, can I maintain it? It's really important. I'm such a firm believer in it. And staying present is so important. You have a technique here called narrating your life.
Yeah. Well, you're a good narrator, so I would imagine you probably do this a little bit yourself.
Oh, I do. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
People think I'm crazy. That's okay.
No. So it's very simple. Like, I'm getting out of bed right now. I am looking for my glasses. I'm going to walk downstairs. I'm going to put on the coffee pot. And while I'm waiting, I'm going to drink ice water because ice water is good for me. Those type of things, it sounds very hokey and kind of like silly, but it really works because especially when you're talking out loud, you're utilizing all of your senses. You're moving, but you're speaking and you're listening and you're thinking all at once, and you have no choice. You're very focused on the here and the now. And it just helps, especially if you have a little bit of a squirrel brain. A lot of us have squirrel brains, to just stay right here. Oh, okay. I am turning on the faucet. Oh, and sometimes it's so funny. I was talking to my husband. Our kitchen faucet takes a while for like the hot water to run. So sometimes then that pause is enough for me to start thinking about all of the other things that I have to do or I should be doing, or I'm thinking that the hot water is taking too long. So we should have the contractor back and we should fix these pipes. And then I start feeling again a little bit of anxiety, like, well, how am I going to pay for that? And we don't have time for this. And so that doesn't work. So just pay attention to where your thoughts are going and try as much as you can to corral them back to the here and the now. And when that happens, and Jay spoke about this earlier, being thankful, thankful that I have the ability right now to wait for the cold water to turn hot. I mean, such a first world problem, actually. It's a little embarrassing to acknowledge that, but it's true. And we all do this, that many of the things that we moan about are really minute problems in the big scheme of things. And so when you do take the time to count your blessings and pay attention to it, like, oh, somebody left the empty milk carton in the fridge again. This is so annoying. But then the next thought could be like, you know what? I have $8. I'll just go buy new milk. It's fine. It's fine. This also means that the kids are drinking milk. That's great. The kids should be drinking milk and that type of thing.
Staying present and positive, you also add one other thing here. You got to ignore the Joneses. And my wife has something she taught me. She said, compare and despair, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's so true, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
It is. It is. That feeling of jealousy and envy. I mean that's a reason why it's one of the seven deadly sins. It makes you feel bad about yourself. It really does. And so when those thoughts and those well, how come they get a new RV and blah blah blah. You never know what's happening in someone else's life, and so it really is better to kind of put your blinders on, back to FOMO, figure only yourself out, figure only myself out, and and just do for you what the very next best thing is, and stop worrying about what the neighbors down the street are doing.
yeah. Chapter 7, step 4. Take action daily. And you say 10 minutes is all you need. What do you mean?
Well, first off, I really like bossing Siri around. So I like to set a timer for 10 minutes and Siri just does it for me. I'm very polite though. In case the robots do take over, I'm super polite to Siri. Um, but you can do a lot in just 10 minutes. And sometimes that's all you need, that mental like flip, like, oh, I've got a writing project and it's overwhelming and daunting. So then I'll set a timer. I'm like, I'm just going to write for 10 minutes. I don't need to have the entire essay done. I'm just going to write for 10 minutes. Same with cleaning the garage. I don't want to clean the garage. Okay, I'm just going to do it 10 minutes at a time. And good enough is good enough. And then you can circle back around. This comes up a lot in my coaching, and we talk about sort of like a school day, or just kind of the way like high school was framed. Obviously, you're not going to finish your history textbook in 1 hour, but it's okay because you know you're going to come back to it tomorrow. So I think sometimes people procrastinate and put off over and over again because they don't have a huge long chunk of time to get through a big project. But if you just do them in little bits and pieces, it all adds up.
And then finally, step 5, fine tune as needed.
Yeah. Tweak, modify, fine tune. Um, Again, it's back to that sort of GPS metaphor that roadblocks come up. Things happen. This is real life, and you are not a spreadsheet. You are not a machine. And when that happens, take a deep breath and then figure out, okay, what do I need to change here? What do I need to tweak? What do I need to modify? And then move forward. If you find that you aren't following that consistency key too much, and you're always modifying and you're always trying to action your way out of a problem, pay attention to that, because that's again kind of a mindset thing. So mindset plus action plus consistency is a success formula. And so these 5 steps that we're talking about, these are the action steps. But if you look at like a metaphor of a diet and you try, I'm going to go keto for 3 days. Ah, well, that doesn't work. Now I'm going to be vegetarian for 3 days. Ah, that doesn't work. I think we can all understand that if you just stuck with one of the ideas for a nice amount of time, long enough to collect some data, then you can decide what you can tweak, modify, and fine tune. So my best suggestion would be is if you have a new idea, stick with it for about 30 days and start to see if things are working, rather than being impatient and constantly trying to action your way out of a problem.
We've done our hour. It's gone really, really fast with you. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun for me to do with you. If people would like to reach out to you, how can they do that?
Sure. I'm a real person. I answer my email. I'm at steph@stephanieoday.com. You can email me whenever. The podcast is the Slow Living Podcast, and the book is available wherever books are sold. Thank you for having me, Jay. This was such an honor and a treat, and I'm just so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, stay with me, will you please?
Yes.
Folks, it's the show. You know what I say to you every week. You're in control of 3 things: your attitude, your effort, and your resiliency. The fact of the matter is, life happens. It doesn't always feel fair. It doesn't always feel right. It just happens. But the 3 things that you can always control are your attitude, which is not always easy, but you can. Your effort, which is tied to your excellence. How excellent will you choose to be today? And your resiliency. And that's up to you to get back up, because we all get punched in the mouth or punched in the gut, and it's up to you to get back up again. And we need you to get back up. Why? Because you're worth it and we need you on the team. I'll be back next week with another great guest. It's going to be another great book. It's going to be another great show. You had a lot of choices. You chose us. Thank you. I'm so grateful that you did. Give us a 5-star review, maybe a thumbs up on YouTube, wherever you're at. As I say to you all over the world, you know what that is. Ciao, everybody.